I hate drawing hair. Who doesn't? And if you're a beginner, I'm 95% sure that you also don't like drawing hair. But if there's a particular hair that I fear drawing the most, it will be curly hair. But in this video, I'm going to show you how I was actually able to draw this curly afro hair for women that actually looks decent. Coming up. To get your curly hair actually looking realistic, you have to first get a decent outline. To get the outline, you can simply use basic shapes to get the form. It doesn't really matter, it doesn't really have to look perfect. You are just trying to get the shape of the hair, and that is all that matters. But now that I've drawn the basic shape of the hair, you will notice that I'm doing something different. If you look closely, you see that after erasing those sharp lines, I am drawing simple scribbles and circles. Now you may be wondering, why on earth did I just erase those straight lines and why am I now drawing scribbles? The simple answer is that the scribbles will blend nicely with the whole hair, while the straight lines may very well show through in the final drawing. Once that's done, we'll now get to one of the easiest steps of this drawing process. We want to prepare the paper. And to do this, I'm going to add charcoal powder all around the paper. One simple way of getting charcoal powder on the paper is to sharpen your charcoal pencil over the paper. And of course, we are going to blend. To blend, I'm going to use this tool called a blending foam. And just so you know, between you and I, there is actually nothing called a blending foam. I basically gave it the name. But this is simply a simple piece of foam that I cut out of a mattress, and I use it to blend the charcoal powder all around the hair. Don't worry about getting messy here. The last thing you need to worry about is getting fancy and clean. In fact, the messiness will add to the realism later on. Once the first preparation layer has been laid, it's now time to get into serious business. Don't worry, it's not too difficult. We are just going to create scribbles all over the hair, and I'll be using my 2B charcoal pencil for this. By scribbles and circles, I actually mean the basic scribbles and circles that we all know, like the S shape, the C shapes, bunch of zeros and simple round shapes. To make it more realistic though, I'll recommend that you create a long row of the S shape. It will help to sell the curly hair effect even more. At this point, we're not even concerned about getting the highlights or the shadows. The goal here is to simply lay the basic scribbles on the page. But I'm not going to butter you up and tell you that don't worry, it's going to be easy, because it will not be easy. In fact, it's going to take you a lot of time. You will need a great deal of patience to cover the entire page with tiny scribbles. But don't worry, you'll get through it. Now that you are done with the tiny scribbles part, it's now time to start to create the form of the hair. Now is the time to concern ourselves with that shadow and highlights we talked about before. I'll start with getting the shadows, the dark parts of the hair. This will actually transform the hair from looking like a head of spaghetti to actual curly hair. For this, I'm going to bring out my 4B charcoal pencil, since we need to get darker now. But even though I am going darker, this does not mean that I can shade it anyhow. I'm still going to create scribbles and circles while still making it darker. For you to know the parts that need to get dark, simply look at your reference photo intently and ask yourself, where is the light coming from? Which parts of the photo are completely dark and which parts have some light to them? Like for example, you will see that the parts on the left side of the hair are basically black, so I shaded them dark. But on the right side, some light is still touching the hair, so I am leaving some of the areas on the right side unshaded to give it more form. This process of drawing scribbles is not for the faint-hearted at all, because it will take time. As a result, the last thing you want to do is to draw all of this in one sitting. Take breaks. The most I can even draw for is 1 hour, sometimes even 45 minutes, after which I need to take a break to binge watch Netflix or watch something before I can actually function again. The next step is to blend. But because you want to keep the roughness of the hair, you want to be careful not to press too much and blend too hard. You basically just want to sweep lightly over the hair so that the hair is not too smooth. Unlike when I am shading faces where I actually like to get my shading very smooth, Smoothness is the enemy when drawing rough and curly hair like this. Now, it actually seemed like I created bigger scribbles on the right part of the hair. So I'm going to go in once again with my charcoal pencil. This time, I'm going to try and draw smaller strokes and scribbles to tighten that area and make it look thick and full. While I'm doing this, I'll also be darkening the hair with my 6B pencil to make the dark areas darker. If you ask me, I would say that the hair looks rather perfect like this. Yes, it's actually amazing, and one should be satisfied at this point. But you know me now, I'm never satisfied. I still think that we can make the hair darker again. I'm going to bring in my lovely charcoal block, the medium version, to help me out here. And you'll see that all I'm doing is make the shadowed areas darker. The parts that are hidden from the light, I'm going to try and add more darkness to them. But of course, I'm still going to be doing this in circular motions to create scribbles. One of the main things that actually make hair very realistic is drawing flyaway hairs, those hair strands that appear at the edges of the hair. To create these flyaway hairs, I'm going to be using my graphite pencil, since it will allow me to create fine lines. I really can't believe that drawing curly hair could actually be this easy. But surprisingly, by taking my time to draw simple scribbles, I was able to create something magnificent. I praise myself too much. So as you can see, all you need to draw female afro hair are just some charcoal pencils and a basic knowledge of how to draw scribbles and circles. But what I want you to do now is to click the video on the screen now. You will learn how I was able to use a similar method to draw short afro hair for men. Watch that. Yes, that. And I'll see you in the next one.